painful journey for those with huge money storage spaces in their homes. That announcement, no doubt, caught many off guard. So as many declarations made on Madaraka Day and the National Prayer Day. Speak less and do more is the new mantra for the head of state, who incidentally also believes that the war on graft will be won. And tonight we interrogate all those developments through the eyes of legislators and lawyers. Later, they reflect on our cartoon of the week and on Time Bar, back in time to the period when currency changed, or was it introduced? But first, it might take, and mixed reactions have met the announcement on Madaraka Day that the current series of the 1,000 shilling note will not be legal tender come October 1st. Now, the withdrawal of Kenya's highest currency denomination is expected to deprive holders of money outside the banking system the easy movement and storage that the note affords. Experience from other countries, and here we are talking about Zimbabwe, Eritrea, and India, should somewhat temper the lofty expectations. In 2016, India removed the currency also from circulation. That was the 1,000 rupee note, with a view to get rid of the dirty money and bring the clean money back into their system. To its surprise, virtually all the notes were exchanged for new ones, with a tiny fraction being converted into other assets, notably gold. Like India, Kenya is an economy where cash is king. One of the challenges for Kenya is curbing inflows of cash through porous borders. Now, these inflows are believed to be backing the mushrooming middle-income eaters, the downstream petroleum market, high-capacity personal vehicles, imports and acquisition of property in the prime areas at inflated prices. The other challenge is that corruption networks and entrepreneurs tend to be paid in hard currencies through accounts overseas held by shadowy companies registered in tax haven. When Treasury targeted this money through a moratorium 2 years ago, this is what happened. A fifth of the cash is said to have been repatriated back into the country. Unlike in India, however, demonetization in Kenya is the escalation of several recent policy actions, which, when combined, should have a bigger impact. The anti-money laundering legislation, the know your customer requirement of banking institutions, seizure of assets acquired through proceeds of crime, and the limits on non-electronic bulk payments, that's both cash and check, should ensure that illicit money is kept out of the system and its holders held to account. Now, key to this is enforcing compliance through heavy regulatory penalties for intermediaries who flout these rules. Now, the other is swift handling of potential litigation so that it does not undermine confidence in the new currency. Over time, there should be constant review of measures, discourage cash in big transactions. And tonight, we borrow our quote from the words of Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. It's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure. My guests tonight, Peter Kaluma, Isaac Mwaura, Rigathi Gachagua, and James Mamboleo. My name is Ken Mijungu. Welcome to our program tonight. Join the conversation. The hashtag, as always, is Sidebar. At NTV Kenya, at Ken Mijungu. Sidebar begins right now.
The new banknotes will circulate alongside those previously issued but not withdrawn. The older 1,000 shillings series. They are being used for illicit financial flows in Kenya and also other countries in the region. We have seen the emergence of some counterfeits. These are grave concerns that would jeopardize proper transactions and the conduct of commerce in our currency. All persons have until October 1, 2019 to exchange those notes, after which the older 1,000 shillings banknotes will cease to be legal tender.
Well, this is a matter that is now in court, gentlemen, but it doesn't stop us from talking about it because the court process has not begun. They just took it to the Chief Justice just constituted the bench to hear this. So I'd like to ask a direct question for direct answers. What is the real reason why the government decided to remove the old 1,000 shilling notes and replace it with a new one? Let me begin with Wakili. What is the real reason?
When you say the real reason, you presuppose that there could be many reasons.
Yes.
But
yes.
As an onlooker, I would think, or I would imagine that the central bank is run by competent people. They have assessed the problem that we have with the old currency. I mean, if you look at these notes, they have become extremely old, some of them extremely dirty. And very lately, especially in the last 1 or 2 years, there has been a huge debate on hoarders of big amounts of money in cash out there at home under mattresses and so on and so forth. And I see this is this as an exercise to bail out these cuts, and so that they can, in 3 months' time, now have to find a way of bringing back this money into the banking system. So it addresses a number of questions. Some of them could be a question that relates to the mandate of the central bank to assist the national government in developing a proper banking and monetary system. Of course, the debate is raging, and I cannot purport to know why exactly the central bank.
But you have given us about 2 or 3. But you just left with talking about counterfeit.
My hunch is,
yes,
the honchos at central bank at this particular point in time feel strongly that there would be a positive impact if they force some of these fellows, like this Richwa Ishmiwas, to get their monies out of the mattresses and bring them into the
at the way they're looking at you. When you say Richwa Ishmiwas.
The house allowances that have been...
No, we'll talk about the house allowance. Let's get the reason
They have been hiding it under mattresses.
The house allowance?
Yes, now they... Because most of them own houses anyway, so they have been hiding it.
Look at the way they're looking at you. Mheshimiwa Rigathi, what is the real reason?
Well, to start with, members of parliament has paid through banks. It will be nonsensical to get money from the bank and take it to the mattress. It doesn't make sense. It will be, you know, it's nonsensical. Number 2, I think from what the governor of central bank is saying, he is confirming the held belief that has been there. There has been accusations, there has been a narrative. There is too much money out there from illegal proceeds, from corruption, from money laundering that is held by people, you know, other beds, you know, other bankers. And there is, of course, a need to get that money back into the system.
Okay.
That has been a narrative, it has been an accusation. And if it is true that that accusation, that narrative holds water, then this strategy is definitely a good strategy. But
Mheshimiwa, you're telling me about what the central bank has said. Is that what you believe?
Well, myself, to start with, I don't hold any money in the house. So I wouldn't know whether you hold. But there has been discussion in the country for a long time. In political rallies, in funerals, in weddings, in parliament, in press conferences, that why there is a money, you know, problem, why there is no money circulating in the economy, which is true, there is no money. Everybody is crying there is no money. Is that some people who have obtained money through ways that are not proper are holding too much money. And we are saying this is a very good strategy. If that is the case, this is the best strategy that could ever be. You know, and that's why some of us are saying even the 3 months
is a long time. I'll come to that. But let me hear from Mheshimiwa Peter Kaluma.
Yes, the last time President Kenyatta spoke, he said his legacy would be the fight against corruption and, you know, leaving one united nation. If you look at the policies of this government for the last 1 year, both policies and legislative, you know, interventions, even laws coming from Parliament, there is a way in which you can define the central focus to be around how to, you know, safeguard the fight against corruption. You know, we now have 48 governments in Kenya. One national government and a government in each of the 47 counties. And for county governments, of course, we have money that comes from the national government during budget down to, you know, the county officers there. But remember, the counties have power now to collect rates. You've been seeing advertisements about waivers and others from all open-air markets across. Taxes are picked from people, you know, in cash. And then when you look at the amount of money coming from the counties to the national government, very minimal, not commensurate to the collections. Instead, you see, the county officers in very huge RMBs and in very huge, personal investments, way beyond, what they earn. What am I saying in short? The fact that we brought regulations making it difficult to deposit over $1 million or withdraw over $1 million has not deterred people from having a lot of cash outside there. So me, I'm seeing the government doing two things. One, we want to bring this money into mainstream economy, okay, so that, we can, stabilize the economy and plan properly. Number two, we want to fight corruption. And that is the extent to which, personally, it was my view that in as much as Central Bank of Kenya needs to give reasonable notice when they are going to demonetize, a whole 3 months or so is, to me, far too long.
Okay.
If Ken, the central bank governor, using the occasion he used in Narok, announced that because it is a Saturday, we give you up to the end of business on Monday to return 1,000 notes, you have been shocked. There is a day I moved, I happened to be, with a politician somewhere, a politician like me, somewhere in Western Kenya. And he was, his own business, doing fundraisings. We went for parliamentary functions. So we sort of, converged. In 2 days, a person cumulatively is issuing over 30 million in Harambes as I watch. Yet when you want to withdraw $1 million, you know how difficult it is. The question is, where is this money?
Okay.
So I see, the president using institutions of government rightly to firmly secure the fight against corruption. And that is personally how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Mwaura.
There are several issues, Ken, that have made this policy to come up. First, of course, remember it is constitutional.
Yes.
It is because we need to change the money so that they conform to the 2010 constitution, and that is the primary motivation. But at the same time, this gives a window for various issues. First and foremost is that there has been very little circulation of money in the economy. As a result of the 1 million shilling or $10,000 rule, people have moved from being piggy bankers to mattress bankers. In fact, I think they may have an association called the Mattress Bankers Association. So that people then are actually sleeping, literally sleeping on money, while others are going hungry. And that is something that is really evident. And then number 3 is the issue of fighting corruption, certainly. Because issues of illicit financial flows, as the governor has rightfully said, is a big concern, because you have a situation where you cannot really have money in the economy. There was a time back, the then Central Bank Governor, Mijungu said that about 145 billion shillings could not be accounted for. But that was money from the Somalia economy through pirates. Now, this has increased to about 237 billion shillings. Money that cannot be accounted for within the economy.
Within the economy.
It's within the economy. They can see it about, over 2 million notes circulating and all that. But it cannot be in the economy. There are so many people who have huge amounts of money, but they are not paying tax also. You see, because if you have 1 million shillings, what business are you doing? And so are you paying tax? But also, something very important that people are not seeing for us is about financial inclusion. If you look at the new currency, it cannot be used by visually impaired people. And they have been conned before. They have not been able to use the money. Now they can differentiate between the coins, yes, and the notes. And it's also good for you to know, Ken, that I was actually the one behind that one. Okay. Since November 2017, I wrote to the governor of Central Bank, I brought a petition to the Senate, and less than 5 countries in the whole world are able to do that now. Okay. So it is also a question of that inclusivity. But also over and above that, it is actually true, really, that if you look at our economy is more informal than formal, really. The government seems to have, lost the control, really. You find that more people are not able to account for their wealth. More people are actually raking in huge profits. And it's just a way of regulating the economy. I think it is right to say, because of the persistent culture of corruption, But then this demonetization is going to help us in terms of actually trying to bring many people into the formal economy.
All right. Yes. Something well thought and something that is in the Constitution. However, it's attracting its own share of controversy, right? And I like to talk about that controversy because you might think it's trivial, but it concerns a lot of Kenyans. This is the fact that they say that the North has a statue of the president, of the founding president. And it's a huge concern. It looks trivial, but the fact that Kenyans are concerned about this again. It's open. It's open.
That matter is as trivial as you rightly say. You know, the Constitution talks about our currencies not having the portrait of a human being.
Yes.
The portrait of anybody. Now, when you take a photo of KICC, and I want to tell you, Ken, if you want to talk about buildings that define Kenya, I mean, wake up somewhere in Washington, wake up somewhere in London, and you see a photo of KICC. And immediately you will appreciate you are talking about Nairobi and Kenya in general. When you go to KICC, there is the statue of the founding father. And it is on the face of KICC there. I mean, depending on the angle you take the photo and how you want to depict KICC.
It has to be there.
You will capture it. You will capture it. The question then for lawyers is simple. Did the Constitution prohibit the portrait of the president or a pictorial depiction captured together with KICC of a statue? What is the difference between a picture of a statue and a portrait of the president? And my thinking in true sense and strict legal interpretation is that if you look at the statue appearing on our notes, they are not as refined as Jomo Kenyatta who was. I mean, that is, you know, a sculptor. It is a statue. If you are to take a photo,
yes.
So the first point would be, do we recognize that KICC is a building that iconic sufficiently to be on our notes? And I'm telling you, there is none comparable to it. In terms of design, you know, the image it has of the country and other things. Assume you are taking a photo of Tomboya Street. Would you avoid that statue of Tomboya across there? And by the way, if you look at that statue,
yes,
does it look like Tomboya strictly? I mean,
okay. But you can avoid it, Mheshimiwa. Does it concern you that Kenyans are really failing this? They're saying this should have been put off completely.
You know, sometimes we have this confusion about talking about Kenyans. If you look at the characters who have gone to court, somebody has over 600 cases. And then you are talking about Kenyans. There are people who are always looking for an excuse.
But it's used a lawyer to go to court, right?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's the primary mover of the matter. This is somebody every day, every morning he wakes up, he is looking for an opportunity to go to court. Because it's a business venture like any other. So when you talk about Kenyans, there is a common denominator in all these cases you have seen. One person.
Okay.
So you can't really say that.
You're referring to Okia Mtata.
Yeah. And I'm saying the way Mheshimiwa has said.
Yes.
KICC is a building that if you talk about this country, you must talk about KICC. And the fact that the sculpture of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta is there does not make KICC less important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, you're saying you're referring to Okia Mtata, but someone in the capacity of minority leader has spoken about this. It's not Okia Mtata. Simon Mbugua has gone to court, right? So when you refer to someone, a serial litigant, a public interest litigant, you have also to consider that there are other people with independent minds who have stated something about it.
He has made a hasty retreat. But I think after wide consultation, he has made a very hasty retreat.
After better understanding of the confines of the Constitution on the matter.
Okay. Yeah. What do you have to say, Mheshimiwa?
Let me say something.
I call you Mheshimiwa. It's okay.
It's good to move me in that direction.
Yes.
Let me say something.
Yes.
Two important things. The first one is this. I know that James Orengo, Senior Counsel, has spoken on the issue, and he seems to be suggesting that in his reading of the Constitution, the portrait, the statue of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, in the context of that currency, would offend the provisions of Article 231 of the Constitution. And you know, with tremendous respect, he can be wrong. And I think on this particular occasion, James Orengo is wrong. Because the reading of that article, even if it is given the widest, farthest interpretation, cannot depict that statue appearing in that currency as a portrait. So that would be splitting hairs. It would be a non-starter in the constitutional courts. But most importantly, and this is what I would say from a legal engineering perspective, things may not always seem or may not always be what they seem. That is one aspect that the drivers against the currency or its introduction are using for purposes of at least delaying the time within which it comes into force. Why? Keep litigation in the courts about this question, and probably somebody would be saying, for as long as this constitutional matter is pending, why don't we stay the implementation of bringing in this currency as we debate this question? What does that do? 1 week will allow a number of people to do a number of things as far as bringing whatever money they have into the system is concerned. So I read mischief in that particular move, and I'm thinking someone is trying to find a way of delaying the implementation of that policy.
Ken,
yes.
Okia Omtata is not a lawyer. Who is drafting for him all these pleadings which are always ready in time? To be filed.
There must be lawyers.
And that gives you confirmation to what counsel is saying.
But this
that
is
whenever you see Okia Omtata, there is somebody whose agenda is pushing. Because he does no other work. Where does he get the money from to file all these things?
He's fundraising online. He's fundraising online.
I think Okia Omtata has been known to bring very progressive litigation in courts. And let this matter be prosecuted to the end. Not necessarily because of the person of Okia Omtata, but personally because I think it gives a leeway to people to actually, have an opportunity to see the fullest extent to which our courts can make determinations. And I'm saying this because, Ken, it's like every decision that is made in this country must be challenged. And at some point, we must also ask ourselves this question. Is this the way we are going to govern the country? We can't have everything, you do this, going to court.
But we opened that space with the constitution that we have.
We did, yes, but at some point, we are trying to, usurp the powers of other, state institutions, and we are all taking them to the judiciary. But let me also come to the question about the notes. I mean, what were we trying to run away by saying we should not have the portrait of individuals? Jomo Kenyatta is the founding father of this republic. There will be no other founding president, not unless we decimate this country and create another one. So my take is that if you look at the American dollar, it has got the face of George Washington. So if then we want to go ahead and say that if you have to have Kenyatta International Convention Center remove the monument in the photo, then the name KICC still has Kenyatta. So it is futile. And I'm very surprised, by the way. There are some people I did not expect to go to court, like Simon Bogwa, who is a lawyer. Who is a legislator, sorry. No, who is a legislator. That's what I wanted to be.
He's a legislator.
He's a legislator. Yes. Because then, is it a question of keeping your name in the public domain, for example, so that people can know that then you are, active on certain matters? Because why am I saying so? Why am I saying so? Just like Wakili has said there. This is a very good, leeway for corruption, money that is being laundered. You delay the process so that then you are able to
have more time to
exactly. But then I still want to say, even as that is, maybe that's the case, they should also remember there is a way in which even if you change money into other currencies, there is a way, these monies can actually, the serialization can be changed by those many other countries.
Again, what I wanted to say, and Council will confirm. If you go to the Environment and Land Division of the High Court today, you will not get a date to resolve a land dispute other than after 3 years from today. When you go to the Anti-Corruption Court, and we are saying we now want to see the judiciary making determinations, they have moved now from courts to the ceremonial halls. And mere bail applications are taking eternity. And yet, you have a matter as simple as determining whether you have the portrait of Kenyatta, the founding father, on a note, being sent to the Chief Justice to constitute a bench. I think there is a way in which our judiciary needs also to make determinations in terms of how they want to use their time to assist the larger society.
The reason why I brought this up is partly because of this, what the legislators had to say. Let's listen.
Katiba ya Kenya imesema hakuna kuweka sura ya binadamu, awe ni sura ya binadamu mwana Kenya ama kutoka nchi fulani, ama sura ya sanamu ya binadamu iziweke kwa fedha. Lakini zile fedha ambazo zilitolewa rasmi jana na rais zina picha ya hayati mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Those notes must be recalled and done afresh. If they want to put KICC, and it is iconic, we have no problem with it. But look for the side where there is no face of a human being.
The interesting thing is apart from the statue of the founding president, they've already started poking into even the 200, I think that is the 200 shilling note, where there's the face is not so clear, but they already said this is the face of C.S. Matiang'i, you know? So you see the concerns of Kenyans. We don't want to see a face. Don't put the face. But now that brings me to the question, do you think this has been politicized? He said trivialized. Is it politicized?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of politics into it. There is no way you can talk about KICC without the statue of Mr. Jomo Kenyatta. Even the way the senator is saying, his name is there. I think it's a triviality of the highest order, and it's a bit embarrassing that leaders of this caliber would be able to take that to a public rally and really confuse the people when they know much better. And I can see myself, the way the lawyer here is arguing, this thing of Mutata and others is a red herring. It's a strategy to delay the thing. And there are either two aspects of it. The people behind it have money that they don't know what to do with, and they will like more time. All, put it on another front, the politicians who have been driving a narrative that their opponents are hiding money, they would not want this thing to be resolved so that they can continue having on that narrative. It could be both. You know, it could be both.
No, or the politicians who have the money, who are now calling for it to be pushed forward, want to benefit from the source of that money.
Yeah, and we are saying, even those who have made an about turn today, probably they have just made an about turn after detailing Mtata to do it on their behalf. You would never know.
There's an issue about us politicians as people who like to politic. Why am I saying so? James Orengo, who is my leader of minority, and I really have a lot of respect for him. I think I love the way he debates. But sometimes back he came up with a statement that the deputy president can be impeached. And when you look at the way he followed that, it went nowhere. I think it was a discussion for that weekend.
Impeaching of the deputy president?
That time, you remember?
Yes. Impeaching.
Where did it go?
He's a proponent of that.
Where did he prosecute it? No, he didn't. He just argued it in the court of public opinion. Today, this was a rally, surely. It must have been over the weekend. And you can see now, because John Baddi followed cue from his equal leader of minority, he has since retracted. So sometimes it's a question of, just like the way I'm suspecting, Simon Bugwa wants to remain relevant now that he's in Arusha, and he must be remembered in Nairobi. Yes. The same case also for these gentlemen.
Yes. My two brothers here spoke a day after the new currencies were...
That's on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Yes.
When I spoke with Honorable Mbadi today, he told me he was speaking from what he was told. He had not seen the money himself. And that, I believe, is why he went to the media to say, I was wrong, it was a portrait. I was told it was a portrait. This is a statue.
Okay.
And I believe that is the same position with James Orengo. And that I think, Maura, you're not being fair to the minority leader in the Senate. Because I remember even the idea of impeachment of the deputy president, the gentleman was taken out of context. Orengo was talking about how you can impeach and other things you can use to deal with a misbehaving president or deputy president. I never heard James Orengo saying, we plan to impeach the deputy president.
Really?
I remember he clarified it. I mean, it is there.
Really? But Rosale can find
but it's even easier.
From what he's saying.
Yes. If it is true that the Honorable Badi and Orengo are speaking
without
on such a weighted
information and the
on something they have heard in the streets,
it's very unfortunate.
Then you really get worried about this country.
I know.
Because these are leaders. Yes. These are leaders who are very senior.
Yes.
They are leaders who are holding serious positions.
Yes.
One is leader of minority in the Senate. The other one is leader of the minority in the National Assembly. And they are speaking from street talk then you wonder, all these other things they say, are they picking
what is the value in that?
Yeah,
do
they have value.
Let me hear from Wakili, then I come back.
I think, Ken, the leader of minority in the Senate, my senior, and I respect him tremendously.
Yes.
He should thank the Honorable
Kaluma,
Kaluma for expressing on national television a benefit of the doubt about those statements. And I think, I said earlier, that James Orengo in his greatness does sometimes fall into probably what I could call misadvice, probably coming from himself or other people. And as a person, for instance, in the legal profession, we look up to, we wouldn't expect him to make those kind of statements like that without question. So what he should do right now, which is the honorable thing to do, is to come out and say,
retract
on
that
this
statement.
one,
yes,
I was wrong. And therefore, I retract this statement. If you understood it to mean this, no, it meant this.
Have you touched the new money?
No, I haven't.
Because I see all of you talking as if you've not touched the money. You are seeing it on screen. I mean, these are questions. These are questions you ask of people in government like us.
No way.
You see, the distinction between a portrait of a human person,
yes,
which you hear James Orengo talking about, and a photo of a statue, is something which started coming yesterday when we went to the media to clarify. And by the way, if you looked at the photo, I think the person who made the statue of, the founding father did better than the others have seen. So it was possible for people to tell Orengo, but that is Kenyatta. Until you go back and you look at the actual thing, and you realize this is the statue in front of KICC, and a photo taken would capture it anyway. I mean, you can make, the mistake of interpretation in the manner they did.
Okay.
And remember also the moment where they were talking.
All right.
Some talk.
I need to take a break.
Something very important.
I need to take a break.
Very important,
yes.
which Senator Mwaura mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Jomo Kenyatta is the founding president of this country. There are those who don't like him, and there are those who might like him, okay? In equal measure.
Okay.
Now, what you cannot change is the fact that he was the founding president.
All right.
Now, this is what you do. As to whether he was a great founding president, leave that history to judge.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Time for a break. On that note, when we come back, a lot of comments and sentiments. Jacob Ambera has a question for all of you. Jacob Ambera says, simple conversation question to all of you. And they're asking, between the statue, KICC statue of Ngegi and Mount Kenya, which one is a natural feature of the land of Kenya? And he's put two pictures, right? And he wants, which one? How do you choose? How do you determine? All right, can we come back and answer that? All right, let's take a break.
Making my family some nutritious porridge
Right, welcome back, and we're discussing money matters. It's a very touchy issue, and I'd like to bring the next phase of this discussion, and let's listen to this.
Unasikia kuna wengine wameingiza siasa. Wanadhani tuko na magunia ya pesa kule nyumbani. Ile miezi 4 ambaye president amesema hata inaweza songeshwa ikuwe mwezi moja au miezi 2. Ndio tukikuja kanisa tena biaza miezi 2 tupeane pesa, hakuna Kenya watatuambia.
Kuna watu wengi wamekuwa wakisema ati Dede Nyoro ako na pesa mingi sana na magunia kwake nyumbani. Sasa mimi nasema hata hii muda ipukuzwe pia, ikuwe kama siku 2.
Financial year ya serikali huanza July 1st. Kama ingewezekana, hiyo directive Mheshimiwa Rais aseme ianze Julai tarehe 1.
Kama ingetoka jana, hiyo pesa ndio leo tungetumia hapa kwa mchango. Kwa sababu tunataka hiyo pesa. Hiyo pesa ingine tulikuwa tunabeba hata kwa mchango inakuwa kubwa sana. Tunataka hii ikuwe ndogo ndio tukibeba. Badala ya tutoe mchango milioni 1, tukue tunatoa milioni 5 na milioni 10. Kwa sababu itakuwa inatoshea na tutabeba. Sasa gunia zikuwe mingi.
That passion, you know, I don't know what you think about that, because it's been politicized so much.
That is a bit
when I've always told you that, of course, I never support the deputy president. But his biggest problem, if I were to be an advisor for free, are the people around him. You know, they have this knack of plunging him into every problem headlong that the society is thinking about. You now see them saying we are the ones who have money. Nobody has said that.
They never saw
you heard of Aror, Kamorer, yes. They jump in. You hear of any corruption, you jump in. My thinking is simple, Ken, and let us you know, try to reduce politics out of it. The fact of the matter is that beginning with piracy in Somalia, a lot of money has been in the economy, in the informal economy, outside there, and we need to mop it up. What I would personally request of our agencies is that we need EACC, we need you know, the DCI, we need these investigative agencies to be at the following 4 points, and you will streamline the economy. One, these bank branches, let us check the transactions going on. Whether it is using Intel or whatever, we are lucky they are intelligence people, let them be there. The forex bureaus, because if we are not careful, the value of the dollar is, may shoot up. Because people are going to demand it highly in exchange for the Kenya shillings. And the fact of the matter is that when you are hoarding money, you hoard it in the currency of the highest value of that nation. So there are 1,000 shillings as to have a withdrawal, you know, terms. So have it at forex bureaus. Then have it in these hardware farms where we sell building materials, and in real estate, you know, industry. Just have intelligence people around there, and you will capture this thing very easily. My view is that as leaders, we don't need to, you know, take the politics of negativity, taking blame where nobody is mentioning you. Okay. I mean, a good economy is good for these colleagues of mine talking, as it is good for me and everybody in the country.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Rigathi, I think you take the same position.
We need to be very careful, okay, not to introduce too much government into people's lives and into the economy. Let me tell you, how a free economy operates is when people feel free to do what they want to do. If we go the route my friend is saying, that we put policemen at every hardware, we put a policeman at every forex bureau, this will be reminiscent of a police state. Central bank, the governor has come up with a very good strategy. And I think what he explained is very well. You know, up to 5 million, the branches, the banks will handle it. And they have a mechanism that has been agreed on by central bank. Because nobody wants to go to a bank and see a policeman. You want to see a banker. You know, you can scare people from even doing business and trading. About 5 million, central bank gets involved. And then he has said very correctly, they have involved the regional managers in the region, in central bank, in Uganda, in Tanzania. Mm-hmm. So that mechanism that the central bank has come up with, I think is sufficient enough. And I think they must have put good thought in it. They must have taken time, how they can check how the whole process of changing the money is going on, okay, without making people, with the
real estate sector. You know, my brother, how, if you remember around 201, 202, 203, The apartments you are now buying in Nairobi at 30 million, 25 million, we're going at 4 million, 3 million. We started piracy there. You are negotiating a property at 4-5 million. A person with links there comes and buys it at 12 million. And that is how we distorted the economy. Okay. How do we mop up this money? Because if I have cash, I would take it to where, you know, an apartment is being sold. Can we make it a rule that these real estate dealings, and this is a suggestion to central bank, these real estate dealings don't come with money telling us you sold property to Kaluma.
It will be healthy. First of all, let's also agree, it's also not a crime to have money. There is no law that says that your money must be the bank. There isn't such law. We have a lot of herdsmen who sell their sheep, they sell their goods, they sell their cattle, and they don't bank money. It is not a crime to have money. Yeah. What we are saying is that there may be some money that has been obtained illegally and fraudulently. But if we can get this money, people go to buy cement, to buy steel, and put up houses, and employ people. That will introduce money into circulation.
Let me have Isaac, then I come to Ken, you know, Kaluma here is trying to be impracticable. If you are to deploy all the police in hardwares
or intelligence, you don't need the police.
No, the police. The police. Let me tell you. Let me explain. Kaluma, wewe kwanza wacha hata mimi niongee, wewe unaongea sana zingine. You know, we must allow the free trade of goods and services. Yeah. Really. And this regulation by itself is going to mop up this unrestricted liquidity and even inject liquidity where it is lacking, because there is an imbalance. You know, when you do not have money in the banks, people are not transacting, then it means that you need to bring people back to where it's. But the solution is not, because what if that policeman is even bribed by the same amount of money? Are you going to say that then that this is how things are supposed to be done? I want to say this without fear of doubt. We must not be seen to be trying to reduce the economy, the activity of the people within the economy. People must continue to build. In any case, now the real estate, there is a bubble. It has burst. There are so many malls, there are so many apartments, high-end, that are not being occupied. Certainly, that is going to redirect investment into where really people are investing. Okay. But at the same time, I also want to say this, that let us not look at this issue around, change of currency, just about, the big companies. The question that people are asking, how comes there are some people who have a lot of money, but Wanjiko on the ground does not have money? Like I was in Githurai on Sunday, and people are really crying. They're asking, where is this money? And at the same time, we are looking at the traditional way of currency, yet in actual sense, people have now moved digital. Okay. What are the regulations about this Fuliza, about this, all of those? And it's like they are having some Shylock behavior, where people are now borrowing money for basic necessities. I'm sure Mheshimiwa Rigathi will agree with me and Mheshimiwa Kaluma. We are even receiving people asking us, Mheshimiwa nisaidie pesa kwa sababu nimeshalipa, nimeshindwa kulipa. Okay. And the amount of money being asked there, the interest is over 20%. Okay. The central bank also needs to regulate this kind of channel, because mobile banking. We are having not just mobile banking, but digital money, including online transactions. Because what is happening now that people are not able to borrow within the formal structures of the bank, they are now negotiating with this, and banks are making huge profits. Okay. Yeah.
Ken, one very important point. As a society, we need to start descending from the high level skepticism and cynicism that we attend to any policy statement that we see from any institution of government. And this is what I want to say, that, for instance, it is not going to be possible that by just one policy statement like this demonetization, that everything is going to be perfect, that we are going to tick every box, okay? That it's going to be executed in a way that leaves everybody satisfied. Some of these processes must be painful. And in fact, I want to persuade my senior colleague, Mr. Kaluma, that in fact, instead of penalizing or making it impossible for these people to return the money, we should even give them amnesty. We should allow them to bring the money into the mainstream banking system. And then we check in with the agencies that he's talking about, especially KRA, who will then ask him later, you have been declaring losses in your business. How come you have this cash in hand? You have this kind of money. Where is this money coming from? So that the positive effect is going to be that there is now money moving properly within the banking system, but most importantly, that now we are going to net taxpayers who have not been paying any money. Exactly. Remember
because
that we have 237 billion Kenya shillings out there outside. That cannot be accounted for. Yes. And then number two, we have only 3.5 million Kenyans paying tax out of a possible 50 million Kenyans. So it means that there is somewhere...
50 is stretched.
Yeah.
50 is stretched.
I'm just hypothetically. And then another important thing, when you walk around this city and across the country, you see real estate developments, mushrooming all over the place. Yes. Now, tax revenues are not increasing commensurate with the amount of development that we are seeing in the private sector.
I agree with you, 100%.
Which means that there is definitely a disconnect between the progress that we are seeing with the amount of money that we see in the banks.
But KRA has never hit its target in any year. I can't remember.
There's something very exciting. You know, money is very exciting. Yes. And that is why it has caused a lot of excitement. There was another directive in Narok Stadium that is very exciting, and nobody's talking about it. The president made a directive that pending bills owed to the people of this country should be paid before midnight on 30th of June. You know, Ken, yourselves here in the nation media the other day,
that they owe us
you held a party for auctioneers.
Yes.
Those auctioneers you are parting with and telling them how they have done a wonderful job is because they have been selling.
It's true, but even the government owes us a lot of money.
By Kenyans because they have not been paid by government.
Wait, you know, would you be auctioned and then you hold the same party? You know, now that you are, it's a bit immoral for you people to hold a party for auctioneers. As the nation.
I am saying, this to me is very exciting. You say it. This is very exciting. Yes. In fact, you know, the other one is a gamble. We may need money or not because it may come the easier way or no. But this one that the president directed, and we want the principal secretaries, the accounting officers, to follow the presidential directive. The letter.
There's something I wanted to say about Wakili, what you had said before I come to the point Mheshimiwa Rigathi has just introduced. If you look at the money that is touched by Kenyans out of the Kenyan economy, 14.8 trillion. If this money were to be repatriated back to the economy, we would be able to retire the SGR loan. Right now, the money we are going to be paying out of the 2.7 trillion budget that we are just about to pass is 600 billion.
But that money does not belong to the government.
No, it
doesn't.
Well, that's the point.
Yes.
Because what do we mean by illicit financial flows, Ken? It means these monies that these Batteries Bankers Association, when they convert it into other foreign currency, then they stash it in offshore accounts. And that is actually siphoning money out of our economy. Yes. With the belief that there is no proper investment, yet actually opportunities abound. But then coming also to the issue of pending bills. If you look at the manner in which the pending bills have accumulated, especially in county governments, we are talking about a debt of about 108 billion shillings. And it is good to ask ourselves, how did we get ourselves into this? Because the national government has got pending bills of about 300 billion. So a total of about 400 or thereabout billions. It is because people are actually not following the proper procurement laws, but most importantly, overestimation of revenue. As we speak currently, the challenge that we have with KRA is that they have overprojected that they are going to collect 1.8 trillion shillings. Yet in actual sense, KRA is only able to collect 1.3. When you have a budget hole of about 500 billion, and you have already issued contracts based on paper money on paper, you are bound not to pay on time. And then over and above that, these bad manners have now been devolved to counties. Governors are issuing roadside roads, contracts to their cronies. As long as they receive their 10%, they don't care whether the project is going to be completed. And yet there are also revenue targets they are not able to meet. So it is a question of looking at what other jurisdictions have been able to do. And I want to give two examples. Number one, if you look at the American states, which you could maybe put the same place at the counties in terms of our so-called unitary system that looks federal, is that you cannot pass a budget that is not balanced. That is to mean you must show where the money is going to come from. And that means if you want to borrow, there must be a plebiscite. There must be a referenda for borrowing. Number two, if you go to Rwanda, our country here, for you to procure, the money must first be in the government account or in the procuring entity, ministry, department, or agency. But in our country, we procure even without knowing how we are going to pay. And finally, if you know that you have a building, like this Nation Media House, it's going to cost you 2 billion. Why allocate the whole amount of money within a financial year? When you look at our procurement legal codes, it is impracticable for you to do it. You'd rather apportion maybe 500 million that you know by the last quarter is when you are going to appropriate that money.
Yes.
All right. I thank my brothers, but I don't think we keenly listened to the president on that matter. He said, debts duly owed. The problem with these debts we are talking about is that the largest portion of them are inbuilt bribe. And Ken, as a member of parliament, I oversight, CDF use in my constituency. I can tell you, if you go to, CDF, the amount of money they spend to do a classroom, the county spends 10 or 20 times that money to do even a smaller classroom unit. What are we talking about? If you look at the situations we've been talking about in the country, you are told a single dam is over 30 billion. And my brother, even a CDF allocation nationally has never hit the 30 billion mark. You know what I mean? What are you talking about doing a single dam? Do you even need 5 billion to do a dam? The fact of the matter is that the conmen and fraudsters of our country now move under the title contractors. And that is why the president was careful to say debts which are confirmed as properly due. And I think we insist on that. Lastly, Ken, I spoke to the matter of police and the intelligence and those agencies. I never mean, the physical, secondment of people to those places. Okay. What I mean is that they know what to do and they know where their eyes ought to be. Okay. And I'm happy my brethren here are making other suggestions in terms of how we can firm up the thing. The fact of the matter, listening to all of us, is that this thing has now moved from CBK. CBK has done their part in the fight. The matter is mainly now at KRA. And if you look at the fight against corruption in countries which are serious about it, like the UK and others, before you reach a level where you are being taken to court, the first station to finish with you is the Revenue Authority. Yes. Then you go to debt recovery. Yes. Then you go to debt recovery. By the time you are being taken to criminal court, you can now bargain based on whether you plead guilty or not. And that is how it works.
Okay, Wakili.
In fact, what he has talked about is a classic case of what we call Al Capone charges, where if you cannot nail someone for drugs, nail them on taxes, send them for 1 year. In the meantime, you have broken that cartel ring. You have gotten him for something. Now, this is what I want to say with respect to a very cardinal point about the president. The president made it very clear on Saturday that, yes, he recognizes that there are true and real contractors out there for whom payment has been pending for a long while. But he said that the payment should be made where there are no reasonable pending queries, audit queries, okay? Where it is clear that you have done this and there is absolutely no problem, the amount should be paid. You talked about this party that you held for auctioneers. Let me tell you, after the auctioneers have put those adverts on your paper, when they go to sell these properties, they never get a buyer. Do you know why? Because there is no money for anyone to buy. So what do these auctioneers do? They continue re-advertising these properties again and again and again. Or they transfer to them. And do you know how that happened? What that finally does? The banks are uncouth. Every time a bank gives an auctioneer an instruction, then payment to that auctioneer is due. Okay? So what do? They go into your loan account and load the fees of the auctioneer and pay. And keep paying every time these people advertise. So at the end of the day, it's extremely important for this government to be sensitive to those people whose properties are being sold by virtue of the fact that their money is spending with county governments.
But also, Ken, I want to add something there about all of this that we are talking about. We need also to move, just not a question of verifying the pending bills. Remember, it is a gravy train of corruption. The people who get paid first are the ones who give kitu kidogo. But if you have somebody, I have a friend of mine called Midamo. He told me he was actually auctioned everything. He had even a big car. He now cannot, he even had his own home auctioned from Garden Estate. I met a lady on Sunday from Idurai who has not been paid money that she procured for devolution conference. And many people like those. The problem, if you look at AGPO, youth, women, and people with disabilities, and our wadogo, those are the people who are even going to suffer, because the priority of a governor, for example, and I'm just using this hypothetically, who has his own company that was able to do road A to road B in his own county, is likely to process the papers rightly. And we would want to know that the Auditor General has actually verified, not just to prioritize based on who knows who and where, so that the real genuine people who supplied are able to be paid. Otherwise, it will be paying the same, cartels, the same contractors, as Mheshimiwa Kaluma has said, who are actually never delivered.
Okay.
Something very final, which is extremely important.
Okay.
Section 35 of the Public Finance Management Act provides that counties can actually spend money within their appropriate allocation and then do a supplementary budget later to correct the illegal expenditure that they have already incurred. And I think this is where Senate can come in and do something. So that like national government, you cannot be allowed to withdraw any money from the consolidated fund without Parliament first passing or passing the budget. So counties have found a loophole in which they hoard some money in some budget votes, and knowing that they will not spend it.
Like for South Sudan and...
absolutely. So that later, through the engineering of the public finance management, that window under Section 35, then they do quickly a supplementary budget and take that money to places where they have now already spent, for which there will be no accountability.
You know, as I listen to you, I'm just thinking this is done by the lawyers like him who do it for the county governments, because independently the county governments can't do it.
No, but you've seen consultancy services agreements where the consultants are offering no service or goods. You've seen them.
Yes. Way to
the lawyers are the ones who inflate their legal fees, and then they get the people who gave them the advocacy workers contracts.
Okay. Given that we have only 26 days to go before the closure of the financial year, and Senator Mwaura, they must look at it. Whatever money Treasury is going to release to the counties to pay pending bills, it must be conditional. Because the governors, the MCAs would divert it to go for trips, they would divert it for other things. It must, and I was with the CS Treasury today, and I asked him, what mechanism are you putting into place? That whatever you are going to release from Treasury to pay pending bills in the counties, it is specifically for that purpose, to clear pending bills.
Can go to Mombasa from this week. In fact, even government departments, executive staff are now being told you have to go for a trip, even if they because they have to spend money. They have to spend money. And these are the things we are talking about.
From what Mheshimiwa Rigathi has said, it's also good to say that I'm actually the Vice Chairman of Finance and Budget of Senate. So this is a matter that has come, but I must say this on national television. Let us not just look at the governors. I think there is collusion in the Office of the Controller of Budget and the Auditor General. These two institutions, now that they're independent offices, I suspect, because I'm told, if you do not get your money released, you must go to OCOB, or Controller of Budget, and see them. You know what I mean? See them. The auditors also, you must see them. If you don't see them, they are audit queries. And what we are seeing is that, maybe to Tetea Wakili here and Peter, in counties, it's not the rule of the law, it's the rule of the jungle. MCAs have they have totally inadequate capacity to oversight a governor with billions, because you just line up with the 50,000, 100,000 and intimidate them. In fact, they're even using goons, to go after them. There are even people who are even hospitalized, like in Kiambu County. So really what we are seeing is that there is fairly lack of oversight when it comes to county governments and the billions that we have devolved.
No, the office of the auditor should proceed on the basis of not just paper, or how good they are, because then conmen know how to make those papers, but the value of the work
that has been done. I'm told by a contractor that nowadays, before you are paid, there has to be inspectors on the ground, and KRA. So as they are paying you, they are looking at the work you have done, and KRA is also waiting. You've been given 10 million shillings, so we want our part. And the contractors go to the ground. So as the money is held at the bank, they confirm all these things, which I think is a good thing. But I want to change the discussion. I think it happened with this financial...
With all these ghost projects.
It's happening. Before I go to the next discussion, because I want to talk about what happened during the National Prayer Day, I'd like to show you this picture, especially Honorable Peter Kaluma. Take a look at this picture. The one that is on my screen, if you can see it. Yes, the picture on my screen, if you can see it. All right, that picture, that's the picture of KICC. Someone has sent me that picture and told me to ask Mheshimiwa Kaluma specifically. Yes. This is the KICC. Yes. This has no point where you can see the statue, but still you can see KICC clearly.
Let me answer it straight.
Yes.
That is a picture taken from the rear end of KICC.
But it should, not the rear end, because not the rear end, because you can see the Times Tower behind. So it's not there, it's the front part.
Remember I spoke about the angle.
Yes.
I think this is a photo being taken from the parking area.
Yes, perhaps the parking area.
Opposite Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is your angle and where you are capturing it
but
from.
Still we could capture that picture without the statue. That's what this person is saying. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Because Mheshimiwa Kaluma said it's possible to take a picture of the KICC without the statue.
I don't want to argue like them.
Yes.
Tell the gentleman that what we are now debating is where you stand to take a photo.
No. Paul Otieno is saying, Mheshimiwa, in a nutshell, that it's possible to take a picture of the KICC without the statue.
But the statue is part of KICC.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
What we are
so
saying
we agree
is that
debate is done.
From the point it was taken, the photo will capture the statue.
The statue.
Yes.
All right.
Does he also want us to remove the Times Tower behind him? Exactly. So you can
interesting. All right. Let's take a look at, let's listen to this soundbite. This is President Uhuru Kenyatta and the deputy, and during the prayer day. Let's listen to this.
I have two requests from my country back home. You might have noticed we have a little political turbulence at the moment, and we're just wondering if you have a spare Prime Minister around. We could...
Your request for a Prime Minister we have a retired one in Kenya, and we can and since the Constitution has abolished the position of Prime Minister in Kenya, so he may not have it anytime soon, so we will send you his CV. Maybe you can consider. In any case, we have had people from the UK helping us govern our country. So it may just be a good opportunity for us to pay back and send you something.
By the way, you've just been given an offer of one. I have a couple more I'd like to donate to you. At least for the next 3 years, give me peace.
Genuinely, all offers gratefully received. The British Airways flight tonight will take you back. We'd love to have you.
I would have said that Trump should remain in the UK to take that position of Theresa May, but this was said in a light moment. But the most interesting thing that if you look at the back of that conversation, it means a lot. You can not fail to interpret it in your own way. And I like your interpretation. I like to hear your interpretations of that. Let me begin with Peter Kaluma. You seem to be very excited about that.
I was very excited as a believer in the leadership capacity of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga when I heard the Deputy President confirm that his leadership capacity is such that he can be even Prime Minister of UK. Of course, people interpreted it otherwise. But personally, I was very excited. For once, I said, Dr. William Ruto is confirming what I've already known as the capacity of Raila to lead. So much so that he's even saying he can take over from Theresa May. And I took it positively. But beyond what the Deputy President said, there is something the President said. So I heard Deputy President, appreciating the leadership ability of Raila and how his leadership can go beyond Kenya. But I heard the President saying, I'm tired. The ones I want to send are for the reason that I need peace. So I also heard the President saying, I'm tired of some people. Of course, he did not mention them. I'm not given to interpretation. And on this occasion, I will forgive the DP because he was so good to the Prime Minister in his ability, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can figure out these three people that the President is ready to donate?
He knows them, the people not giving
You can't figure it.
Yeah, but I imagine the president has been talking about agenda fund. If you remember, to me, this is the one occasion where the president spoke least. But whatever he said to me had the biggest impact. Because I was saying, why can we stop all this talk and go into work and focus, or doing what we say? And to me, that was important.
Let me hear from Mijungu Maura.
Well, I'm part of the people who organize the National Prayer Breakfast.
I thought you were going to say you're part of the people who are being donated.
No.
to
And let me say, no, we actually organize the whole issue, all of that. We meet every Wednesday to pray. So we are serious people. So we don't just, by the way, I want to tell you, Kaluma and your friends, don't come to our choir because we practice and then munakuja. Even the last one was supposed to be a small group, but then eventually we sounded like, frogs that were croaking. But anyway, Helen Mutawali sang very well, and also the Kajiado MCS gave us a run for money. I think personally, from where I sit, that was an anticlimax. Lord Hastings gave a very, very good, talk about, what we leaders are supposed to do. And he even warned us about populism and really, sticking to what can help our country. But you could tell some form of unease, around the conversations that emanated from these. It was a joke. And when he talked about exporting a prime minister that is fair, everybody knew who he seemed to have been referring to. Because obviously we have not had a prime minister for a long time. But of course, you could hear the deputy president saying that for a very long time we are not going to have a prime minister soon. So he was trying to say that the referendum, it may not be occasion. So I saw the usual, fight between His Excellency the Deputy President and Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And even as we sit now, the 2022 politics seems to be revolving around these two gentlemen. So basically, it was kind of a settling of scores. Obviously, many people are expecting that Raila would be there. And of course, Kalonzo and Mudavadi were also there, but they were mentioned in passing. But all in all, for me personally, I want to say it was kind of an anticlimax.
Anticlimax?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, I would plead to disagree just a little. I think as Kenyans, we just need to learn to live a little. It is never that serious. I mean, this man started off a humorous moment by saying something which I don't think anyone should take to heart. And true to his wit, of course, His Excellency, the Deputy President, is a very witty and eloquent politician. And he saw an opportunity to poke or kick someone somewhere. And he did exactly that by saying, hey, we have a very experienced Prime Minister here, we can export. What I expected the people who are not very happy with that statement to do is to say that, the Right Honorable former Prime Minister has gone to the UK because I'm told he...
At that time, I think he was in Ethiopia or something.
We're heading there. That he's gone there to say, I know I am qualified to do this job, but I have better things to do at home. Yes. I would be offering myself for this particular position. But let's put it this way. In this country, we are always fighting about everything. And we make every fight so serious, so that there's not supposed to be a moment of humor. Everything is supposed to be dull and somber. That was not a funeral, in my view. That was a moment in which Kenyans come together and reflect and probably say, probably we have been too hard on each other.
Okay.
And this is an occasion to loosen up, just a little, so that this country doesn't become a country of people who never saw a war that they didn't want to join.
Okay. All right. Mijungu, and don't forget as you respond that ODM Secretary General went and responded to what he said.
Of course. You know the art of public speaking. The hallmark of a good public speaker is the ability to introduce comic relief in a serious setup. And Lord Hastings was very good. He gave a very good sermon, very good talk, but in the middle, he introduced comic relief and everybody was very happy. Equally, the Deputy President is a gifted public speaker. He took it up and introduced even more humor, and there was comic relief. And the President came in and even created more humor by saying on top of the one you have been offered, I would even go further to give you 3. And therefore, the people, Akina Sifuna, there is so much psychopathy in this country. Yes. There is no way an occasion good public speaking full of humor, full of comic relief, and then you call a press conference to go and read the issues into it. How are you supposed to go for a 3-hour meeting without anybody laughing, without anybody clapping. You are just talking serious things. That is not good public speaking. You must be able to inject comic relief and humor to keep the place going.
It's good that I hear all what my brothers are saying, but I was in that room.
Okay.
And I think it's good to say the truth. Even you, the media, reported. And you know, last prayer breakfast, the other one for the previous year, we saw people even hugging. You know, it was very camaraderie. But this time round, and I think that's why people like Sifuna took offense. The mood, you know, by the time Lord Hastings was actually speaking about it, it was very, humorous. Even when the Deputy President was making the joke about exporting, the Prime Minister Raila Odinga and what have you. But eventually now, it was not what we would have expected.
Actually, Senator, I believe the Deputy President was not joking. If he had an opportunity to export Raila Odinga out of this country, he would. I think he would.
That is conjecture.
No, I think he's spoken so much about it.
Are you his spokesperson?
No, I'm not his spokesperson. But I bet with the sentiment, with the sentiments that the Deputy President and his team have had on the former Prime Minister, I think if he had an opportunity...
Would the former Prime Minister do the same to the Deputy
I don't know if he would.
Ken, I agree with the Senator.
Yes.
The atmosphere could not have been the same.
Okay.
A year back, the handshake was supposed to unite Kenyans, bring everybody together, bring everybody on board. Along the way, the people who came to Jubilee decided that the handshake is between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, and the rest of us are not part of it. Let me finish. Let me finish. They decided that the rest of Jubilee is not part of it. So, and along the way, Orego came with the impeachment. Along the way, Joho said, we have been told by Baba to make sure Ruto will never get anywhere. Along the way, we have come to do this and that. There is no way the atmosphere would have been the same.
Why are you conveniently forgetting the vice chairman of Jubilee?
Yeah, I'm saying, but the vice chairman of Jubilee hangs with that brigade.
He
hangs with that brigade. He hangs with that brigade.
Allow me first, so that I don't forget.
Yes.
Allow me to ensure
Is
that...
still the vice chairman of Jubilee?
No, he stepped aside.
But he hangs with that brigade. Allow me to make sure that Ken's sentiments don't go unchallenged.
Which one?
Ken, it remains your conjecture that if the Deputy President had a way of exporting the former Prime Minister, he could. Now, that, as the lawyers say, what is in the mind of a human being, not even the devil
knows. Exactly.
Now, but having,
I have to take a break.
But having said that,
yes.
Do you want me to proceed? Having said that,
yes, in 30 seconds.
Something extremely important. People keep making noise about this and that about politics. Then what is politics about? What is politics about if not people poking at each other, creating all manner of scenarios? What is this politics supposed to be about?
Understand, good question and a good point to take a break. When we come back, we still have two things to discuss. I want to discuss about the pronouncement, just briefly, Mheshimiwa, the pronouncement of President Uhuru Kenyatta, do more and talk less. And I also want to discuss the amount of pressure that is coming into these teams, one called Tangatanga, the other one Kitaeleweka. I just want to discuss that briefly. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
just stop talking a little bit and just put into practice the things we have said today, Kenya will be a different country in less than 5 years. That's number one. We love talking about it. We love making our commitments. But the practical side, it's tough. Let's just do it. Let's not talk about doing it. Let's just do it. That is all our people ask of us. Nothing else. We can sing from the rooftops, but all our people want is for us to do what we've said.
Well, the body language of the president, really, he means business. You can even look at the kind of emotions he employed while saying that. He meant it, but will it happen?
Ken, let me say this. Uhuru Kenyatta, so far, is going to be one of the most consequential presidents in this country. He has taken bold decisions. He has done what presidents before in this country have never dared do, okay? And when you see him, you see a sad president, a man who, in the heaviest weight of the burden of looking at this country from the vantage point from which he sits, he can see how this country is reeling under the weight of great potential, but it has refused to go there because of rhetorics, and a problem that is ingrained in the minds of especially leaders. And he's almost begging, telling these guys, hey, let us move this country forward. So what I think we get from that is a very small point. Probably every leader needs that small meeting with himself and asks himself, yes, there is interest to push of whatever kind, but is it possible that in my small way, I can make a small contribution, which put together with the rest of the leadership of this country, can actually do something to move this country forward?
Okay, Mheshimiwa Rigathi.
I think the president was very right, because when we look at the political temperatures and the kind of pronouncements from the political divide across, it's not very, very healthy for the president's legacy, especially the big four. And granted, the president has 2 more budgets to go, because the final one is not a budget you can talk about. There will be electioneering, there will be all sorts of things. So when I look at the president, I was not there, but when I look at the screen, I see a man on borrowed time, a man who knows that so much needs to be fixed and put right within a limited period. And that is why he would want people to walk the talk, and he would want people to focus and go for it. And I think all of us who are leaders have a responsibility to support the president, because at the end of it all, he needs something he can look back. He'll retire a fairly young person, and he needs to walk with his head tall in the city and say, when I was president, I was able to deliver 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Kaluma.
Ken, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been very bold in this term. If you see President Uhuru Kenyatta saying, I'm fighting corruption, but if you understand how this government works, it's like a person, you know, shaking his own house. Because there is too much corruption, even within Jubilee itself, coming from even, you know, the last parliament and leadership we had before his, you know, re-election. When the president says my legacy is going to be the fight against corruption and inclusivity, do you remember how Kenya was divided by the time we went into elections? Remember, parts of this country did not even vote in the fresh elections which were ordered and which made him sit. But does it shock you that President Uhuru Kenyatta is today more comfortable going to Kisumu? By the way, does not need any leader to be there, than to what were, you know, the Jubilee strongholds. So I see a president who is saying, I want a legacy. And in my silent moment, I've decided on those 2. But they forget about this agenda for
housing and all
issues.
that. Yes.
Inclusivity. That day we picked Raila, my friends from the airport, walking through, you know, El Selassie. I got to relive and unlive the idea of walking through the shadow of death. You are walking with young men shot, and you are surrounded by police, tear gas, and itchy water all over. And you have to go through. And they're dying on you around. These people can say, let us shake hands, we have a nation. The president is speaking as a true leader who understands the first duty of a president is to unite a nation. But look at what is happening. The president is saying, this is my legacy. Can we marshal all efforts around it? The tragedy in which the president finds himself in is that he has a principal assistant whose focus is now not, this legacy. I'm going for the presidency in 2022.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that the president is saying, can we do this? But you see campaigns going on. Look at that act the president, undertook at the inland container depot the other day. Let me tell you, it was massive. Because the traders are collapsing. Goods are not being cleared. KRA is all over. This counterfeit, fight against counterfeit is crushing everybody. I mean, KRA is crushing businesses are closing down. You saw him take, how many days? 2 days there as a president, going very early in the morning to evening. To the extent he's even asking people for lunch instead of giving. Why can't the people around the president, more so his Jubilee people, see where he's going? Why is it that we people who lost lives we know can say we want to support you, you leave your legacy, and his own people see us as enemies who have gone in to etch them out? I mean, the president is begging. If you look at how he spoke, let me end by saying, I've watched President Uhuru speak, and he's a very articulate human being. But remember, I told you before you showed this speech, that to me, that is the day the president made the most powerful speech. And he said 1, 2.
In less than 4 minutes, he was done.
And he was done.
He was done. Mheshimiwa.
Yes, I think I want to really say that you can be in a room, but you don't quite capture some of the sentiments. And I must give credit to you media, because when you look at the president speaking there, he has the benefit of being the only one who is a president of the Republic of Kenya. So he is able to know the intricacies within government, what really this country can achieve. But we have a problem, because we do not see it from as he sees it. Kenya has been in an electioneering mood since 2002. And by the way, honestly, I thought that when Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta joined hands, it would end. But, I mean, we were with the deputy president in Githurai on Sunday. It is the people who are demanding for him to talk about 2022. In fact, they shouted at him, 2022. So we have made politics, and this is all Kenyans. Let's not blame one another. We have made politics like some sport. It's a theatric, it's entertainment and all of that. And we have actually forgotten that we need to build a country. And when you look at it clearly, which country would develop if we are always moving from one election to another? Even for us politicians, it becomes extremely expensive, and yet this is a one-day affair. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the president is here, he's about to retire. He can't quite show what he's been able to do as per what he expected. Because every president has got an expectation. So all his milestones, I want to do this. SGR, fair, we may say about inflation, of course, and what have you, but at least it is something that is a going concern. We are told it's going to break even very, very soon. But he needed to do more. If you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, there were 10 key points, even on the four that we talk about. There were 10 key points that he was supposed to follow through. So he is more concerned about what will the country remember me for? What will I have done? And remember, the president, his role model is Lee Kuan Yew, who was able to move the country from third world to a first world. I believe, and he said it very clearly there, that within less than 5 years we can do so much. But yet, people are not seeing it from where he is standing from.
Yes. I want to disagree with one thing my colleague has said here. He has made a statement that the deputy president is not supportive of the president in driving his legacy. That is not true. See, there are people who just came the other day who want to teach the deputy president on how to support his boss. I think that is wrong. The ones who came through the handshake. You came, listen, these guys were our competitors for many years. Let me finish. They were our competitors for many years. Yes. They have come on board and they say they want to support the president. Yet they say they like the president, they don't like the deputy. If you go to your neighbor and you have been having disagreements, you cannot go there and say the father of the house is a good man, but the wife is bad. These people are trying to teach the deputy president on how to support his boss. His boss has not complained to him. He has not complained to us. Who are these people who have come to complain? And we are saying also there is nothing like garden campaign. Let me tell you, Ken. Yes. Orengo and Badi were in Nyanza talking about the money. They are not said to be campaigning. When Ruto goes to a church and he addresses people outside the church, he is campaigning. What are these double standards? What are these double standards?
Just a short thing, because he pointed at me, Council.
What are these double standards?
Ken,
respond. Yes.
The deputy president is going around what he calls Kenya, doing what he calls development. And you know development is planned. Like now we are budgeting Maura, we are planning development. Does the deputy president know where Homa Bay County is, or where Luo Nyanza is? Would it shock you if I told you that while the deputy president believes Kenya is some central Kenya, he has prayers even when the president is around, he has never stepped into Homa Bay County. And this is half Luo Nyanza. So you can pretend about these things, doing what? We've reached a level, Ken, where some people think they own everything in Kenya, including God. Today you hear people in church saying, us we are church, others are magicians. And when you see the people saying they're people of God, you are saying, I wish God would return. Let us stop the politics and support the agenda of the president.
But let people who came the other day not teach us on how to support the president. Yeah, they cannot teach us. They are not qualified.
Between those two competing sides, let me cut in and say as follows. That as a policy person, probably I am thinking that the problem lies in Article 138, sub-Article 4 of this Constitution.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know how? Because it creates a procedure for election of a president, which the framers of this Constitution thought would help bolster cohesion across the nation. Because it requires the president to garner at least 50% plus one vote. That anticipated a scenario in which you are able to collect votes across the country. Now, in a very tribal...
After election is a symbol of national.
Absolutely.
It's not a jubilee president.
In a tribal country like ours has become, what this has done is this, that for any president to now make a bid for this office, they have to look for another fairly strong person from another tribe who can garner a big amount of votes. So the end result is this. The presidentialist system in the United States, from which we borrowed this presidentialist system, requires a system or provides or has lived through a system in which when a president chooses or selects his running mate, they choose someone who is not going to try to overshadow the president, okay? So that during the incumbency of that ticket, all right, that vice president is going to live in the shadow of the president.
Okay.
Now, you have a different scenario here where, because of the vulgarities of the electoral system that require you to get a strong person, this person is strong when you are running for office, but they might end up becoming the burden during the incumbency of that office. So probably we need to relook this thing and see whether there are innovative ways of creating a solution around this constitution.
I like you're going to respond. In fact, I'm coming to you. I'd like to play this soundbite because it concerns what Mheshimiwa Kaluma said, that the president is more comfortable going to Kisumu, for example, than his backyard. And this is one of the reasons. So let's listen to this.
Mount Kenya region must claim its rightful share of development in the country within the remaining 4 years of this current administration. We know that Mount Kenya region contributes over 60% of our country's GDP, yet only 20% comes back to its people. We have therefore called upon the Commission of Revenue Allocation, CRA, Parliament and other relevant agencies to ensure that the region gets its fair share of resources when it comes to development and implementation of the second generation formula. We are very keen about that.
The reason why I want Mheshimiwa Maura to come in this is two reasons. Mheshimiwa, one, you were there. Do you have that feeling? And then secondly, I'd like you to respond to something you also mentioned but happened over the weekend. The fact that after the church service, one, you were together with the, let me call them Team Tangatanga. In fact, one person, I think it was Governor Waititu, who said, ukiona Maura ako hapa, then ujue this is what the voters want, right? And when you came outside, I saw a different sentiments. For example, he was booed, right? But you had that rousing welcome. And there are sentiments around that also. So I just want you to respond to those two scenarios, even as you speak about what Mheshimiwa Sisili was talking about then.
First and foremost, I need to own up. I'm the one who wrote that statement.
Okay.
Yes. word for word.
Okay.
And this was something that we did with the full knowledge and support of His Excellency the President. It was a question of us as Central Kenya leaders, as Mount Kenya leaders, coming to see, to it that we also get development. Because there was an understanding that in the first term you need to woo other people and make sure that they also get the national cake. But in the second time also, you must also go home ground.
Was it formal understanding?
Well, it is a political balance.
Okay.
And that is legitimate.
Okay.
So we are basically saying, can we get development in our own backyard? Because there is no need of having a president that is hollow. You get the point? You have the president there, but then the people cannot see why they voted. So it is a legitimate concern, and every region has a right. Luo, Nyanza, Western, where everybody has a right to ask for development. So it's nothing out of context there. And
Okay.
you remember we even had Sidebar here with Alice Wahome and others, and Janet Mohammed around that time.
Yes.
But coming to the issue about what happened on Sunday. It is true, actually, I got a rousing welcome in Githurai, really, in the contrast of Waitito, and there are videos all over circulating. Why? Because people are tired of poor governance by Governor Waitito. The market there was demolished, nothing has been put up. He has been, taken by ICC for various corruption scandals. He was a darling of the people, and that's why people are saying, yes, in fact, they are very clear, we want Deputy President William Ruto. But on this one, our governor, we do not agree.
Okay.
It is very, very simple. And for me, I have been advocating for the rights of the people.
Okay.
I have been very vocal on what, and they can tell. Kenyans can tell. It's like a midterm crisis, awakening. Kenyans can tell who is genuine, who stands for what. So it is done. I hear people saying, oh, people are mobilized. There are over 10,000 people there. How can you mobilize?
It was spontaneous.
Yes, it was very spontaneous. Yes.
Okay.
And I can tell you, it was very clear because the Deputy President addressed the very crowd, and he was received very well. As I said very well, he didn't even talk about 2022. It is the crowd that was demanding. But when he now asked Waitito, he was told, apana huyo apana.
Okay.
Na akaambiwa, don't, I mean, this guy was not even talk. So
Okay.
what I'm trying to say is this, Kenyans are not stupid. Kenyans are very, very keen on the development of this country. And insofar as you as a governor, you as a member of parliament, you as a senator, and any other position that even MCAs, if you are not delivering, watakuonyesha madharau.
Okay. I'm going to give you the clip. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. They're not going to talk about the clip. So as you speak to this, I'd like you also to put into context what Governor Waitito had to say. Let's listen to this.
Ukituona sisi bwana Deputy President, tunasimama vile tumesimama. Na mimi nataka nikwambie, kuna pressure mingi sana ambayo iko juu yetu. Sisi tumewekelewa pressure na njia zote. Unakumbuka juzi mpaka tulikuwa mimi nimenyang'anywa askari tukiwa na kina Mijungu. Mimi nataka nikwambie iko pressure kubwa sana. Na hiyo pressure hiyo tumewekelewa vile ulisikia Bishop akisema siku ya Moi. Haikuwa nawekwa na the President Kenyatta mwenyewe. Hata za hii pressure hapana wekwa na President Uhuru. Lakini iko beneficiaries wako hapo karibu na yeye. Wanafikiria yeye akikaa wataendelea kufinyilia wananchi. Sasa hao wametuwekea pressure na njia kubwa sana. Wananiandama na njia zote. Lakini mimi nataka nikuambie, ukiona tunakuja kwako na kuna hiyo pressure yote, wananchi wenyewe wanatuambia ukitoka hapo ujue sisi hatuko na wewe.
Yes.
About the clip in Naivasha.
Yes.
We went there.
In Naivasha, yes.
And we had a legitimate concern.
Yes.
Politics is about interest. When you go for elections, it's an investment. If you invest 6 million votes, you expect a return on investment. You expect dividends.
Okay.
It's about interest. The kind of statements the Honorable here is making, that the President is more comfortable going to where people never elected him, as opposed to where he was elected to amend, is the kind of statements that is making our people have a problem with the hardship. That kind of arrogance. People have come, they are having a sense of entitlement. You have heard what he has said. Yes. He has said clearly that the president is more comfortable.
Yes.
Listen, the president is more comfortable going to Kisumu than to areas where he was elected to a man. It's that kind of arrogance that is having us have a problem with this hardship. Okay. People who just came the other day, and now they are trying to tell us, that they have taken our men, and he's more comfortable dealing with them than the people who elected him to a man. I'm saying those kind of statements. Is those kind of statements.
Okay, let him finish.
Let me finish on Waitito.
Yes.
What Honorable Waitito is saying
about the pressure.
The pressure. Let me tell you what is happening, Ken. Yes. In every succession, There are people who surround the king, who like the status quo, and they try to manage succession. In 2013, people surrounding Mwai Kibaki did not want Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. They were trying to bring the candidature of Musalia Mudavadi. We refused. We told Uhuru Kenyatta, you are our candidate. Even if the Kibaki men do not want you, we don't care. We'll make you president. And he went ahead and contested and won. Around Uhuru Kenyatta, like in any other succession, there are Madrins who are very comfortable with the status quo, who would want to have a hand in what will happen in post-Kenyatta era.
Okay.
And those are the people Waititu is talking about.
Okay.
You know, they may not want the deputy president, they may have somebody of their own around the president, not the president himself.
Okay.
And that happened even in Kenyatta's time, in 1976.
Even in
1976, you remember the era of Jomo Kenyatta. There were still people around Jomo Kenyatta who did not want Moi to take over.
Okay. I want him to respond, then I come to you.
Yes,
he wanted to add something.
Yes, I wanted to say something. Yes, there may be that pressure, as Mheshimiwa Rigathi is saying, and for sure, because you see also if you are losing power or you are nearing the end, you still want to have a president that you can control. And by the way, that there is a problem there because those people they call themselves technocrats. They tend to ignore the politicians. And His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta is a politician.
Okay.
You know, so that disconnect is really about them and wanting to be the ones who are calling the shots from behind. But also at the same time, Waititu must not use that as an excuse. The pressure that he's facing is from the ground.
Okay.
I have been bred and brought up in Githurai. I ran for Roiro parliamentary seat in the last election, you remember. And people there are not happy because we went with him to the ground to look for votes. That time he was the darling of the people. When you turn your back on the people, they'll turn their back on you.
That is bound to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, Mheshimiwa.
Let me, bring understanding to two issues because I see my brethren here proceeding on a very wrong premise. Let me clarify, Ken, that I never voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta. And let me also clarify that in law, once Uhuru Kenyatta took the reins of power as president, he is not a Jubilee president. You like it or not, he is the president of everybody. And there are some functions the Constitution now vests in him. Is the symbol...
Can I ask you a question?
No. Let me proceed. Is the symbol... No.
Let's also qualify. So is the deputy president.
Yes, but let me talk. It's a symbol of national unity and is the president of everybody. Guys, you sat there and you are talking about developments.
Yes.
But what Ken has not showed is that you are talking about how many CSS at the end from Central alone?
Central, there are 4.
There are 4.
Yes.
On that day, you counted 6.
No,
I'm talking of Mount Kenya region.
4 and you have 3 and you brought nothing on the table.
I'm talking of Mount Kenya region.
You brought nothing on the table.
What I want to tell you...
you have 3 CSs, brought nothing on the table.
What I want to tell you...
And I have none and I didn't bring anything to the table.
No, you have one. Let Mheshimiwa finish.
Can I finish?
Yes, please finish.
Nobody had to vote for Uhuru Kenyatta to develop their regions. If you think voting for Uhuru Kenyatta is what mattered, then don't take taxes from the people who never voted from
But even then...
It is as simple as that.
Yes.
That is the kind of that is making us...
Can Mheshimiwa finish? Yes. Can Mheshimiwa finish? Yes.
Are you saying these taxes are only being paid by Jubilee supporters?
No, we are saying...
Correct.
Part of what they are paying,
everybody pays. Remember, Ken.
Yes.
When the president or his government takes even these debts we are talking about, it is not for the children of Central Kenya. So what I'm saying in short is that you are looking at development and how the president should operate in a very myopic way.
Okay.
And in fact, what I want to tell you is that on a critical analysis, the president is working alone. The situation where the president finds himself in is a president finishing term with a deputy who is available for the purposes the current politicians want.
Okay.
I can tell you the situation in Central Kenya is a situation of people looking beyond Uhuru.
Okay.
And Ruto is more available to them for the things I'll not speak about here.
I know you want to talk about politics, but it's the last comment we are having on this.
Politics is local.
Just hold. I want to speak to the Nakuru speaker who has been hanging on the phones for a long time. Joel Maina is joining as the Speaker of Nakuru County. Please join us probably for a minute or two, or a minute, because we really have to go. What's your question or comment? Go ahead.
Yes, Ken Mijungu.
Yes, go ahead. Just
I've been following up your conversation.
Yes,
on the
Joy.
Sidebar.
Yes.
Today has been a very, very interesting conversation.
Go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, today has been a very, very, very good conversation in your Sidebar. I have been a very, very ardent supporter of Sidebar, and I want to thank all the presenters there. What I want to say is that I have listened to all the people, the panelists there,
Yes.
and I want to congratulate one person there in particular, Honorable Rigade. You know, the best thing for you to do in this world is to talk the truth. I have seen Honorable Kaluma there, and I remember Honorable Kaluma was, during the change of the constitution, in the forefront, saying that he wanted a presidential system. These are the same people now, today, they are telling us to go for a parliamentary system. Now we are seeing them talking about politics of development today. The deputy president is a principal assistant to the president. And everywhere the deputy president goes, he goes on behalf of the president, representing the president. So whether he goes into a church or he goes into any other function, he is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
Now the conversation that has been there is about sharing of resources. And these NASA people are very wise. And that's why we suspect all these issues about handshake. They came in as bringing the country together. Now we are seeing them being the ardent supporters of anything that is not right in this country.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the other day there was a gold scandal. Nobody's talking about it. You see now we are talking about changing of the currency. They are the ones who are asking for extension of time. They are the first people to say that they don't want to see the image of the...
Yes, you really need to ask a question. We really need to end. Yes.
We are saying...
Yes.
Enough is enough. NASA people don't play jokes around with us in this country.
Okay. I think it's the same point as Mheshimiwa Rigade, right?
Order.
Yes. What I
just want to say.
We have to have this structure. Yes. I think let him speak, then Mheshimiwa speaks. Yes. Just briefly, because we are out of time. I need to let you go.
With respect to the Speaker for Nakuru County,
yes,
I think he's working too hard to substantiate the obvious, and he hasn't done a very good job of it. Yeah. Now, this is the thing. He's totally out of depth. Now, I think it's extremely important to understand that politics is local.
Okay.
That's why you can see that Mheshimiwa Senator Mwaura can support Waititu on some side, and then quickly turn and say, no, on this one, I don't support him. Why? Because if he thinks that this is an impression the people of, let's say, Kiambu have taken, and on this one, Waititu is right, he will support it. But if he thinks that the Kiambu people have taken the position that Waititu is a corrupt governor, he will not support that position. So you understand that these are politicians.
Okay.
Finally, they are playing to the gallery of the constituencies where they come from.
Okay.
Because when they go back home after this studio, there will be people waiting outside their gate asking them, what is that you are talking about? And like me, who when I go home,
you'll slip sound.
I will slip sound. So don't be too hard on them when they take these positions.
Okay.
However, what I don't agree sometimes with, especially what you guys in the media have dubbed as the Tanga team, I have never understood why anybody thinks that the presidency is something that comes easy. I don't know why it becomes surprising when Ruto people find resistance from some quarters against his bid for presidency. Because for me, that would be the road to go, because that is something he should expect. And on the other hand, I do not understand why his people would be dying to carry his cross for him. You've seen members of parliament parading themselves, owning up certain things that they really shouldn't. This is what everybody should know.
Okay.
Both the Kitoeleweka or Tanga, that at the end of the day, at the end of the day, politics must be played.
Or
whoever comes out as presidential candidate will not expect a free run.
True. All right, Mheshimiwa, you're going to respond to what the gentleman said.
Yes.
But even as you respond, because it's the last opportunity to speak, we have to close. I'd like you to take a look at the cartoon because we spoke about the National Prayer Day. So we're going to show you the cartoon, and then as you respond, it will be on the screens even behind you so you can see it easily. Let's bow down and close our eyes. National Prayer Day. Then the looters are right behind them. It's all over the screens around us here, so if you can't see that one really well, you can look at it even right behind me here. All right. So, Mheshimiwa Kaluma, it's your turn to speak even as
two things. I don't know where the speaker you say of County Assembly in Nakuru saw me supporting the presidential system. But he's spoken to very weird things. We are advocating for a parliamentary system because, one, it is cheap. Two, it is more responsive and more accountable. Remember, in a parliamentary system, members of parliament already elected and on salary are becoming ministers. The additional pay they earn is some extra responsibility allowance, not going beyond 200,000.
Okay.
Instead of the situation where you have cars and all those many things we are talking about. The representatives of the people are sitting with the executive. I want something to be addressed in my constituency. The minister is there. We can sort it out on tea. Not like now you want to push for things. They hide. They tell you.
Actually, I think we shouldn't even go to that conversation.
Yes, so we don't need to go into that. But let me clarify lastly one thing.
And don't forget the cartoon.
Can all of us are in government? You know, it shocks people who believe not in the current constitution when you tell them everybody is in government. What we have in a presidential system is not an opposition, and moreover we have debated this. Everybody is in government. What everybody isn't in is in the governing party. So this thing being peddled that we've joined Jubilee or whatever is a misunderstanding of the society. We are in ODM. We are supporting an initiative of the president which we believe is good for all of us. And we are all in government. In fact, as we are seated here, we are in the arm of government called parliament. So I'm not lesser than anybody. Let us agree that because we are all in government, we have some duties as citizens. And what makes a nation is that everybody contributes to resources through taxes or otherwise, taking obligations like on debts, and everybody has to benefit. That is how to create an inclusive nation. Don't bog a president seeking a legacy by saying, we voted for you, we need this and that. In any event, Ken, I saw some photos here about benefits of handshake. Let me today say here in the media, show me a single project in Luo Nyanza, which is an initiative under the Uhuru presidency, and I'll show you these are continuations of projects which were initiated by Kibaki in the Grand Coalition, which are to continue anyway. Now, on the cartoon, I'm speaking, I think the cartoon, you see a gentleman picking money from somebody saying, let's pray.
Yes.
To me, one word. It speaks to how far and how deep into our society corruption has gone. A guy is simply telling you, even church is not spared. You'll be praying, but you'll be looted.
Behind.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Mwaura, your closing remarks.
First and foremost, let me just ask a rhetorical question. If somebody runs a brothel, and they decide to take 10% to church, and they are part of the congregants, will you be able to say that is sin money? These are important questions we need to ask. Because by the end of the day, we are trying to dispute something, and that was actually the conversation around the National Prayer Breakfast. People are asking, what is dirty money? Who should be given the podium to speak? And what have you? It is very important, Ken, that we come together once in a while, once in a year, to pray and reflect. It doesn't mean that we are the cleanest of people, but at least we are able to agree on certain. Before we have the National Prayer Breakfast, the previous day we have what we call the National Conversation, which this time around was being led by Ole Sapit, Archbishop, and Justin Muturi as the Speaker of the National Assembly, and Ken Lusaka. And these conversations are very, very important because they prick the conscience of leaders. And this movement has not been started here in Kenya. It started with the American Senate. It has since become global. In fact, we even attend other places. But then let me also say this. When it comes to the issue of the society and the way we are, it is very important for us to agree that we are looking at ourselves in the mirror. And we may not like what we are seeing. That does not mean that we should give up on ourselves. Because the more we keep on talking about these things, the more we try to find a solution on how to go about it. Let me finish by saying that Kaluma says he's in government under the legislative arm, but he was still in government, therefore, in the 11th Parliament.
Correct.
Being in government is a feeling. It's a feeling. As long as Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are associating, people who voted for Raila Odinga feel they are close to government, and he's the AU Special High Representative, Envoy. What does that mean? If you look at Chapter 16 of this Constitution, Article 255, 56, and 57, it is almost impossible to change the Constitution. I say almost. Because if you don't have a referendum law that is watertight, we'll still be bogged down by judicial, court, procedures.
Okay.
But I want to say this. I am of the school of thought, and this is my personal opinion, that if being in government is a feeling, which I think it is, we are to expand the executive and create 5 positions: president, deputy, prime minister, and 2 deputies. If that is what would help people to coalesce around those 5 individuals, so be it. And then the leader of opposition can be in both the Senate and the National Assembly to help the country to be coherent.
Okay.
But as I finish,
please
there's two issues I want to say. Number one is that I want to condemn strongly, I've already talked about that. Yeah. I want to condemn strongly what happened to KTN journalists yesterday. That is totally unacceptable. We can't have journalists being intimidated. And finally, I want to send my best wishes to Anwar Loitiptip, the senator for Lamu, who was attacked by goons and is now in hospital.
Okay, thank you.
Kenya is in a state of anomy, a total breakdown of social rules. We need to find a way of getting into a conversation to bring back a value system, okay? What that cartoon is showing is that we have sunk too low. We have gone beyond the de minimis, the lowest possible minimum standard. And I think what we're saying here is, can we find a way of retracing our steps and getting back somewhere? But ultimately, Ken, we must understand that human beings are driven by the streak to survive. Every person is trying to survive somewhat. And the country is becoming more and more difficult for common mwananchi to survive. So that originally or initially, people who are not prone to getting into corruption, like common mwananchi, are now also saying, if these things were to go like this, I'm going to be left in a situation in which I cannot even pay fees for my children. So what we need to do urgently, and I think as in the prayer breakfast, as people were saying, let's bow down to pray, the central bank governor was thinking, how do I do something which brings back some of this money into the economy? Probably this is what motivated what you are seeing as demonetization. So every person in every office, be it parliament, be it senate, be it national assembly, central bank governor, president, or whoever, you have a role, a small role you can play. Together, the totality of these small pieces of action will bring together that country for which everybody will be proud to say, no, 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 let's at least stop here. This is too much.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to say that the circumstances that got us to sit together at shake were necessitated by the fact that the NASA coalition refused to accept the results of the general election. And we are glad that finally they accepted that Uhuru Kenyatta was legitimately elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya. Having said that, they must go further and recognize that the presidency is the president and the deputy. William Ruto was not appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta. He was elected along Uhuru Kenyatta. And for as long as they don't show respect to both the president and his deputy, it will be very, very difficult for most people in Jubilee to extend the same respect to the other side. Okay. Having said that, on the cartoon, it depicts the level of corruption, which is very high, and we admit. And I want to disagree with the people. I've heard some people saying that Uhuru is not doing enough. He has slowed down on corruption. I want to say no. I want to defend my president. The president has done his bit. What he has done, he has provided enough resources for the state agencies, and he has given the much needed political support. Okay. It is up to the agencies to stop talking, to stop seeking newspaper headlines, to stop leaking investigative progress to media and social media, do very, very credible investigation, put up a watertight case, take it to court, prosecute it, and secure conviction.
Injunctions on investigative agencies.
I know, but I understand. If we begin that discussion, we will not finish It's another day today. It's another day today.
And also magistrates
issuing
anticipatory bails when they are on sick leave.
I know, I know. So this discussion, we can, Mheshimiwa, we haven't finished. We are doing the last part of the show. Now the discussion today has been centered on one thing for the last 4 days, and this is what is happening with the 1,000 shillings note, specifically on what we have been speaking to this evening. Now, the new generation 1,000 shilling note, it is the highest denomination in the country. But let's take you back 31 years ago. The date is October 13th, and the headline is Moi launches new 500 shillings banknote. Now, this denomination was introduced by the Central Bank of Kenya, and immediately it went into circulation. It contained the image of then president on the front face of the note. Most significantly, this note marked the Nyayo decade, and it was expected that it would meet the transaction needs of the wananchi and facilitate better handling of the currency. Remember, it was 500. Now, 2 years before then, the 200 shilling note was also launched by then President Moi. Now, the launch coincided with the anniversary of President Moi's installation. A year before then, during the 7th anniversary celebrations, the president had launched the 7-sided 5 shilling coin. And in May of 2003, the Kenyatta currency notes were brought back into circulation just after the Rainbow Coalition took over from the KANU government. A good place to end our show tonight with that brief history of our money. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming for Sidebar. I hope to see you another time. And thank you for watching. We are off air, but remember, as always, we're still online. Have a good morning. It's not actually night.